Good afternoon. In front of me right now, a prominent professor from Vienna University of Technology, and he is still right now as the Professor Emeritus at the same university, specialized in the waste management. I would like to have a lot of talk today with him, and I would like to introduce you all Professor Paul Brunner. Good afternoon, Professor Paul Brunner.
Hello.
Thank you very much for coming to Banda Aceh, particularly to Syekh Kuala University. We are really glad that you made it from Vienna to Banda Aceh, even though it is a long flight with time difference, but finally you made it, and we really appreciate your time and your energy for coming to Banda Aceh at Syekh Kuala University.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I also listened to what you presented in the last 2 days, particularly with regard to the urban metabolism. And actually, this is a quite new terms for us about the urban metabolism. In case you have some ideas to explain to the audience, so it has become the issue for them. Please.
Thank you. The issue of the urban metabolism arises from the fact that most people today on the globe live in cities. So the consumption of materials in cities, the stock of materials we build up in cities, and the waste and emissions that flows from the cities become very important from a global point of view. And with this metaphor, urban metabolism, we try to combine different areas of research like consumption, civil engineering infrastructure, and waste management and resource management. We try to combine all these disciplines into one single issue, which is the urban metabolism.
So if we connected the issue with regard to the cities in developing countries, like in Indonesia, do you think this issue is important, or is just important for the developing countries?
I think it's important for all countries, because at a different state of development of a city, you have different inputs. According to the inputs, you also have different outputs. And during the course of development, you build a stock, because the input is not equal to output, so you build a stock. And this stock, on one hand, is a resource, because you can make use of this concrete, the steel, the glass, everything which is in the stock of the city. It's a resource for the future. So the way you build up this stock today is your future resource. And because you can also look at old cities, at cities of, let's say, affluent countries that built up the stock a long time ago, you see the outflows there today. So you can learn a lot for the new cities in East Asia, how they start to build up their stock now. You can learn about resource consumption, about how to build a clean stock that you can easier use in the future, and also about the emissions, how to build up a stock that in the future your emissions are going to be low and compatible with environmental standards. So I think old cities, new cities, cities at different development stage can profit from this approach of urban metabolism.
From what you explain, is implied that the city already accumulate the stock, yeah? And in terms of the urban metabolism, do we need to do the calculation starting from the design, or is it after? Because from the urban planning point of view, they are just starting from the design, but they don't count about the urban metabolism during the design?
Yes. As we have learned during the past, let's say, 50 years looking into the development of a city, we know now that if you incorporate into the design process metabolic considerations, you can build better cities, better in terms of less energy consumption, less material consumption, more easy recycling of the materials, and less environmental pollution. So I really think that the design step of a city, and it doesn't matter at what stage of development the city is, the design step can profit a lot from urban metabolism thinking.
In addition to your book of urban metabolism, you also wrote another book, what you call material flow analysis. So if you link this material flow analysis to urban metabolism, could you elaborate a bit about this issue?
Yes. Material flow analysis is, let's say, just a methodology. You can apply this methodology in all fields. Like in the human metabolism, you can make balance of animals, for food purposes. You can use it in agricultural field or in forestry field, etc. So material flow analysis is just a methodology. And urban metabolism is one field of application. And because the material and energy turnover in cities is by far the biggest turnover of our modern civilization, it makes a lot of sense to apply this methodology right there where the material and energy turnover takes place in cities.
Okay, so if we try to apply the material flow analysis to the, let's say, not as a big city, but just only a communal, let's say a communal waste, for example, it is applicable.
It's very applicable. And it's a good idea to start with such a smaller entity when you enter the field of urban metabolism. Every city, or let's say every modern city, has a water input.
Right.
And if you have a water input, you have a waste output, a wastewater output. And these are very good examples for material balances, to balance this water input, wastewater output on the mass level, but also on the substance level.
Right.
Because there is clean water going into the city with very little nutrients, for instance, but there is polluted water coming out of the city with a lot of nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen. And the art is, of course, to manage this water balance in a way that those single substances like nutrients do not harm the environment. On the opposite, that they contribute to the resource conservation. That's the real art, and you can exercise that on a small level even better than on the big one, because the big one is very complex.
So we have a lot of plantation, mostly with regard to the palm oil plantation, and we also have a lot of palm oil industries. And we had some issue with the European Union, for example, with regard to the blockage of palm oil production from Indonesia because it is considered not a sustainable industry. However, you may be aware that this industry and palm plantation covered a lot of workforce from Indonesia. It's around 16 million people rely on this industry. And it is impossible to cut this industry from out of Indonesia. Then if we try to find out in the sense that we would like to make this industry sustainable using this MFA, what do you suggest?
I see the MFA as a good means to investigate, to analyze the palm oil branch. Because, as you mentioned, there is some opposition towards palm oil, and always the question arises, then if we don't produce palm oil, what should we do then? I mean, 16 million is a substantial part of the Indonesian workforce. So if you don't produce palm oil, you have to produce something else. And with MFA, this is a good methodology in case you want to, or it is suggested that you do something else, to look into these other activities. What is the material and energy turnover in these other activities, replacing palm oil? And is this better or is it worse? Because it has a resource aspect, it has a processing aspect with emissions, and of course it has a waste aspect at the very end. And I would be very interested in looking at a material and energy balance of a modern palm oil production with the existing land that has already been deforested a long time ago, to see today with this land, what can you do with the palm oil business, what could you do with some other business, and then to compare and then to make the decision, this is the way to go or the other way to go is even better.
So you have been here at the USK Kuala University for 2 days, presenting regarding the urban metabolism, and then also how to prepare your publication with the PhD student and master student. You already have some time to discuss with the PhD students. I would like to get some ideas on how you feel with the USK Kuala University and how you feel with the student who discuss with you about a certain topic, etc.
In the first place, I was very much pleased by the way I was received here at the university, because it was a really pleasant experience to meet the professors, to meet the students, etc. In the second place, I learned a lot.
Right.
Because in the beginning, I had an audience in front of me who I did not succeed in asking questions.
Right.
Because of the cultural difference.
Right.
So on the third day, and this was very, very pleasant, on the third day I had excellent answers from the audience. I had excellent questions from the audience. I had a lot of questions, a lively discussion. While on the first day, it was not so lively yet. And that means that I, as a teacher, progressed in interacting with the audience, which I enjoyed, as I said before, very much. I also think that the Indonesian teachers are lucky in having such students as you have, because they are interested in, they participate in the discussion, they are very respectful, and they are eager to learn. I hope that in the future they will be more brave in becoming creative, in presenting their own ideas, in helping to find alternatives for existing problems. In this way, I felt today that still there can be made some progress.
You know that some of the universities in Europe, like Utrecht or ATH, just resigned from the, what you call it, world-class university ranking, something like that, under from Times Higher Education, for example. For us, this issue is still very important because we would like to bring our university to the upper level, which is known by the other international universities. That's why the issue of international cooperation, international research collaboration are becoming more important for us. And in terms of the international research collaboration, what would you suggest for our staff? How to start building the international bridge with the international funder?
I think it is very important, as you mentioned, to establish those networks.
Right.
And if of course, there exist already networks, and the first recommendation would be to use those existing networks and to expand them as rapidly as you can. And of course, this requires also the visit of those universities you mentioned and others. It requires the visit, but also as a next step, it could mean that you together prepare proposals, or that you join teams that are in the process of preparing a proposal. This proposal preparation does not require that you travel. This can be done by FaceTime or by digital means.
Right.
While the more intense part is to go to place and to travel personally and to take part in, let's say, conferences.
Okay.
This is another way, I think, particularly for the young PhD students, to present their work at international conferences as a means of posters.
Right.
To participate in poster presentation, where you have a chance to meet young students, PhD students, but also the more experienced researcher. And it is then mandatory for the young people to take all the courage and to talk to those elderly experts and to establish connections and to present their work to those elderly experts, because then they get also a feedback and they come home first with new names to expand the network, but then second also with the feedback on their work, so they know I should continue here, or maybe this is another new field where I could apply my knowledge.
As you are from the Vienna University of Technology, what you suggest the area of cooperation between Schiaquara University and Vienna University of Technology?
This is, in as far, a difficult question, as I have, of course, my own discipline,
right,
which is waste and resources management. And here I feel competent to give an advice.
Right.
While I'm sure there are other departments who are also very interesting for you, but I don't have the overview. I think that the chemical engineering department, working with some materials that are interesting for them and for you, will be a cooperation possibility as well. Excuse me. In my field, environmental and resource and waste management, I would recommend to look for a cooperation in the field of wastewater management, which is a broad field from the collection to the treatment to the effluent reuse, etc., wastewater treatment and management, and waste and resources management, which again is a broad field because it comprises resources on one hand, the stock on the other hand, and the effluents from the waste management field. And there are institutes for wastewater, for waste, etc., that your student could go to and learn, and maybe even make a master there. Or there could also be your PhD student or younger assistants that are able to participate in common research projects or European research programs.
Vienna University of Technology is one among top universities in Europe. However, it is not well known among youngsters in Aceh particularly. Actually, the university are already listed by the government for those who would like to study in Vienna University. There is scholarship from the government of Indonesia. And I personally would like to give some recommendation for the youngsters from Aceh to study in the Vienna University. If you could give some highlight to attract them to come to Vienna University of Technology, could you do it, please?
Okay. In the first place, when you come We call it TU Wien.
TU Wien.
Technische Universität Wien. Right. If you come to TU Wien, in the first place, you get a good education.
Right.
You will be a good civil engineer, environmental engineer, or whatever at the end of your education. Right. I think that's a really good point. Second, you have good teachers in general. Your teachers will care for you. You will be treated as not one in a million student, but one in a few students. So this is very nice. Second, University of Technology is situated in the middle of the city. So it's not a campus out there in the boonies, it's in the middle of the city. And as you probably know, Vienna is a very beautiful city. Right. It was heavily destroyed during World War II. Right. After World War II, from 1950 to maybe 1980, it was a grey and poor city. And then all of a sudden, the economic boom resulted in a lot of money available for restoration. And in contrast to other cities, like Zurich, where I'm from originally, it didn't happen that the old buildings were torn down. It happened that the old buildings were restored. Because in the 1990s, people started to realize how valuable those old buildings were. While in Zurich in the 1950s, they destroyed the old buildings because they looked ugly at that time. Vienna kept its old heritage and is a very beautiful city. And there's a third point, which is, of course, the landscape. Vienna is a city of 2 million people, but it's surrounded by a very beautiful landscape. By the Viennese woods, by the river Danube, by the beautiful habitat around the river Danube, and it goes down to Budapest, it goes up into Salzburg. So your possibilities for activities beyond the university are great. And the last, but maybe one of the most important point, we have a lot of Asian students in Vienna, but not at the University of Technology. They are all at the University of Music and Culture, because there they learn how to play the violin, they learn how to become a composer, they will learn how to play piano, etc., etc. Because Vienna and Austria in general is a center of music. Right. It's a global center of classical music, and there you get an excellent education, musical education. So either you are probably a student that wants to combine your civil or environmental engineering with an additional education in music, right, and then you are really in the best place in the world, or you just enjoy music, and then you are also in one of the best points, because we have beautiful operas, very famous opera. We have 2 concert halls, the Musikverein and the Konzerthaus, and we have one of the most famous German-speaking stage, which is the Burgtheater. So from a cultural point of view, if you are interested in culture, then the TU Vienna is one of the best places to go to.
Having many years of teaching undergraduate, supervising master and PhD students, yeah. So you have a lot of experience with the students. You have already met every kind of the student. What would you like to suggest for the Sheikh Kuala University student to excel in their career in the future?
Work hard.
Yeah.
Create your own ideas.
Right.
Believe in your ideas.
I see.
Work hard again.
Right.
And develop your own personality.
I see. Right.
Apply high moral standards.
Right.
And I think this will pay out in your life. It will pay out.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Brunner, for your time. I know that this is one of a very valuable advice to our students, and they also know about the Vienna and particularly Vienna University of Technology. We hope that this will encourage them to study overseas, to pursue their master or PhD at the Vienna University of Technology. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your excellent questions. Thank you very much.